Sometimes coming from a family who's had a great amount of success in the NFL can be more of a curse rather than a blessing. The constant comparisons, the pressure, and the expectations can often be too much for any one person to live up to and repeat.
Matthews could be overdrafted because of his last name and the fact that his brother is the reigning NFL defensive MVP.
There are several second or third generation NFL players who turned out to be just as good or even better than their dads. This includes Peyton and Eli Manning, Clay Matthews III, Matt Hasselbeck, and Christian McCaffrey. But for many second and third generation NFL stars, it was simply way too hard to successfully match the level of production that their dads enjoyed. So here are 10 former NFL players who failed to follow in their dad's footsteps. Number 10. Ryan NECE. NECE is the son of San Francisco 49ers legend Ronnie Lott, widely regarded as the greatest safety of all time. Given Lott's ridiculous accomplishments and on-field dominance, everybody knew that his son would never play up to the same level. That's just reality when you're a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Lott and his wife Kathy decided to give their son Ryan his mother's maiden name in order to help him create his own identity while also minimizing the expectations and pressure of following his father's footsteps. Lott was a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 10-time Pro Bowler, 8-time first-team All-Pro, and a Hall of Famer after all. So it was totally unfair to expect Ryan to be even half as good as his old man. NECE joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an undrafted free agent in 2002. And though he only appeared briefly in 8 games that year, he won a Super Bowl 37 ring with John Gruden and company. NECE spent 6 seasons with Tampa Bay and 1 with the Detroit Lions. He had just 3 career interceptions, 5 sacks, and 307 combined tackles. Again, there was no way he was going to duplicate his father's success, but NECE was still a pretty good story for an undrafted product. Number 9. Anthony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett was one of the NFL's most feared running backs throughout his career. He and Roger Staubach propelled America's team to a Super Bowl XII championship. Dorsett was a 4-time Pro Bowler who earned 1 first-team and a pair of second all-team pro selections. The Hall of Famer sits 10th all-time in career rushing yards with 12,739. Dorsett's son Anthony followed his dad's lead and played professional football, although he was a safety instead of a running back. The Pittsburgh product was drafted in the 6th round, 177th overall by the Houston Oilers in 1996. He spent 4 seasons with the Oilers/Tennessee Titans franchise and another 4 with the Oakland Raiders. Dorsett actually appeared in Super Bowl 34 and Super Bowl 37 with the Titans and Raiders respectively, though he was on the losing end both times. In 8 NFL seasons, Dorsett had 3 interceptions, 22 passes defended, and 267 combined tackles. But Anthony was rarely a starter, and he wasn't all that impactful during his playing career. Good on him for carving out an 8-year NFL career, but it simply wasn't as dominant as his father's. That's okay though. There can only be one Hall of Famer named Tony Dorsett. Number 8. Casey Matthews. Casey is part of the legendary Matthews football family. He's the brother of former Green Bay Packers superstar Clay Matthews III, the son of 4-time Pro Bowl linebacker Clay Matthews Jr., the grandson of Clay Sr., and the nephew of Hall of Fame offensive lineman Bruce Matthews. Clay Jr. played 16 seasons for the Cleveland Browns and 3 for the Atlanta Falcons. He helped the Browns reach the 1986, 87, and 89 AFC Championship games, losing all of them to the Denver Broncos. In addition to the previously mentioned 4 Pro Bowl nods, Clay Jr. was a 1984 second-team All-Pro. He had 69.5 career sacks and 16 interceptions. While Clay III perfectly followed his father's footsteps, the same can't be said about Casey. The former Oregon star was drafted in the 4th round, 116th overall by the Philadelphia Eagles in 2011. Casey lasted just 4 seasons in the NFL, recording only 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and no interceptions. The Minnesota Vikings signed him in the 2015 offseason, but he suffered a hip injury during offseason workouts and never made the team. No other team signed Casey, who was out of the NFL for good soon after. Quite a difference from brother Clay, who earned 6 Pro Bowl selections and a Super Bowl 45 ring with the Green Bay Packers. Number 7. Craig Cassady. Howard Cassady played 8 years in the NFL from 1956 to 63. 7 of those were with the Detroit Lions, and he also had brief stops with the Cleveland Browns and Philadelphia Eagles. Howard was both a halfback and a split end, or what we would now refer to as a wide receiver. The 1955 Heisman Trophy winner led the Lions to an NFL championship in 1957, which still stands as their most recent league title. For his career, Howard amassed 1,229 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns to go along with 111 receptions for 1,601 yards and 18 touchdowns. He also excelled as a special teams return man, racking up 1,594 career kick return yards. His son Craig had a much shorter and less productive career. Drafted in the 8th round by the New Orleans Saints in 1976, Craig played just 1 season in 1977. After that, he was soon out of the league for good. Number 6. David Grayson Jr. Dave Grayson played 10 years of professional football, 4 with the Dallas Texans/Kansas City Chiefs franchise and 6 with the Oakland Raiders. Grayson was a complete difference maker all over the field for both teams. He earned 6 AFL All-Star selections and led the Texans to a 1962 AFL championship. 5 years later, he would win a second league title with the Raiders. He was named to the AFL's all-time Team of Fame, and it's somewhat surprising that he has yet to earn an induction to Canton. His son, David Grayson Jr., on the other hand, was not so dominant. Grayson Jr. was drafted in the 8th round, 217 overall by the San Francisco 49ers in 1987. He never actually played for the team and instead landed with the Cleveland Browns, where he played 4 seasons. He would spend 1 more year with the San Diego Chargers in 1991 before finding himself out of the league. David had just 8 career sacks and 3 interceptions in 5 NFL seasons. Number 5. Max McCaffrey. Former NFL wide receiver Ed McCaffrey was a late bloomer. He didn't emerge as a star until his age 30 season with the Denver Broncos in 1998. McCaffrey won a Super Bowl 29 championship with the San Francisco 49ers in 1994. He turned out to be one of the final pieces for the Broncos in the final years of the John Elway era. McCaffrey would win back-to-back rings with Denver in the 1997 and 98 seasons. He hit the 1,000-yard receiving marks 3 years in a row as well, from 1998 to 2000. 1 Pro Bowl selection and 3 Super Bowl rings for the elder McCaffrey. Not half bad. Now, 2 of his sons made it to the NFL, and one of them is a lot more well-known than the other. You all know who Christian McCaffrey is, the Carolina Panthers superstar running back and the MVP of many of your fantasy football teams. Christian's older brother Max, though, wasn't quite as successful as a professional. After going undrafted in 2016, Max signed a deal to play wide receiver for the Oakland Raiders. Max bounced around from the Raiders to the New Orleans Saints before landing with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017. He suited up for just 5 games that year, notching 1 reception for 4 yards. Max played 1 more game for Jacksonville in 2018, but was out of the NFL by 2019. He was drafted into the XFL by the DC Defenders, but he decided to take a job as the wide receivers coach at Northern Colorado instead. Number 4. Kevin Matthews. Introducing another member of the aforementioned Matthews football family, Kevin is son of Bruce Matthews and the brother of Atlanta Falcons Pro Bowl offensive lineman Jake Matthews. So, of course, that makes him the nephew of Clay Matthews Jr. and the cousin of Clay III and Casey Matthews. While Jake has done a fine job following Bruce's footsteps, Kevin had a short-lived professional career as a center. The Texas A&M product went undrafted in 2010, and he proceeded to sign with the Tennessee Titans. He appeared in 17 games over the 2010 and 2012 campaigns. Matthews later had brief stops with Washington and the Carolina Panthers, but he never played a game for either of them. He was out of the NFL by 2014. The same year, brother Jake was drafted 6th overall by Atlanta. Number 3. Cody Grimm. Hall of Fame guard Russ Grimm was a key centerpiece of Washington's dynasty in the Joe Gibbs era, one that produced 3 Super Bowl championships over a 10-year span from 1982 to 91. Grimm was a 4-time Pro Bowler and 4-time first-team All-Pro. He was also named to the 1980s NFL All-Decade Team, and he won a Super Bowl 40 championship ring with the Pittsburgh Steelers as their offensive line coach. Russ's son, Cody Grimm, was a star defensive back at Virginia Tech. He won the 2009 Dudley Award and earned a first-team All-ACC selection that same year. He was drafted in the 7th round, 210th overall by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2010. However, Cody struggled to make much of an impact in his 3 seasons with the Bucs. He tallied 2 interceptions, 0 sacks, 3 passes defended, and 73 combined tackles. Cody missed out on much of the 2011 season with a knee injury, which didn't help matters. The Bucs didn't bring him back for the final year of his rookie contract in 2013, thus ending his professional career. In 2019, the Buccaneers hired him as a defensive and special teams assistant coach, and he was a part of their Super Bowl championship team. So, hey, there's still plenty of time for Cody to best his pops in the coaching department. Number 2. Chris Sims. You kids recognize Phil Simms as the CBS NFL commentator and analyst, but many years ago, he was the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. Phil spent his entire career with the franchise, which spanned from 1979 to 1993, primarily as the starter. Sims earned Pro Bowl selections in 1985 and 1993, and he captured a pair of Super Bowl championships with the franchise, though Sims was injured and replaced for the second title run. Sims went 95-64 as the Giants starter, throwing for 33,462 passing yards and 199 touchdowns against 157 interceptions. Now, Phil's son, Chris Sims, did follow his father's footsteps by going from NFL quarterback to NFL analyst. Chris currently works on NBC and co-hosts Pro Football Talk Live with Mark Florio. Before his broadcasting and writing career, Chris was a journeyman NFL quarterback for 5 seasons. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tennessee Titans, and Denver Broncos, going 7-9 as a starter with 12 touchdowns against 18 interceptions. Obviously not as good as Father Phil, who earned 2 Pro Bowl nods and a pair of Super Bowl rings. Number 1. Jarrett Peyton. Yes, Jarrett is the son of Chicago Bears great Walter Payton, one of the most beloved, iconic, and respected players in the history of football. Not much more needs to be said about the elder Peyton that hasn't already been said. Peyton, a 9-time Pro Bowler and 7-time first-team All-Pro, won the 1977 NFL MVP and helped the Bears win Super Bowl 20. He's enshrined at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. His son, Jarrett, had a short-lived NFL career with the Tennessee Titans. Again, there was no way Jarrett could possibly come close to matching the career of his legendary father. He'd be the first to tell you that. The star running back out of Miami, Florida, went undrafted and joined the Titans in 2005. He played 13 games that year, rushing for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns on 33 carries. Jarrett would eventually move up north to play in the CFL. He spent 1 year with the Montreal Alouettes and another with the Toronto Argonauts. Jarrett was then out of professional football by 2009 as he decided to focus his time and work on the Walter and Connie Payton Foundation in Chicago.
First and goal now. Payton, touchdown, baby sweetness.
But what other NFL players failed to follow their father's footsteps? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.